Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this evening, where we'll be talking about the Bachelor of Accounting, or biac, here at UTS Business School. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands our city campus now stands. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this land. I'm also conscious that we're zooming in from many different locations tonight, so I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which you're currently on at the moment too. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that the session will be recorded. So by taking part today, you are consenting to that recording being made available. We won't be using names or anything like that in Q&A, so there will still be anonymity, but that recording will be made and shared as well. Now, my name is Rachel, and I work in the marketing team here at UTS Business School. And we're also joined this evening by Bachelor of Accounting Director Michelle Cook. We've also got biac first year students, Mohanisha and Christian, second year student Georgia, and Lauren, who graduated from the biac in 2017 and is now a senior consultant at EY. In the background, we've also got Samantha from UTS Business School and Karen, who works with Michelle in the Bachelor of Accounting, and they'll be helping answer some questions that you've got that come through. So just on that, if you do have any questions, you'll notice in your Zoom control panel, there's a little Q&A box. Just pop your questions in there. If you see any questions that have already been asked that you really want the answer to, you can upvote them as well, and that will pop them to the top, and we'll know those are the most in-demand questions that you want answered. So tonight we're going to be covering what exactly is the Bachelor of Accounting, what the course structure is, how it works. We'll be talking about our sponsors, internships, how they work, when you do them, what kind of stuff you'll be doing, the career options available, the application process, and again, any questions that you've got, we are more than happy to answer that. Okay, so Michelle, thank you so much for joining us this evening. One of the questions we get asked so many times is, what exactly is the Bachelor of Accounting? How is it different to the Bachelor of Business? Would you be able to touch on that for us?
It would be my pleasure. So the Bachelor of Accounting is actually a Bachelor of Business, and the only requisite is that you must have one major in accounting. But what I say is the Bachelor of Accounting is like a Bachelor of Business with a whole lot of glitter. What I mean by that is there's so many add-ons that come with the Bachelor of Accounting, and we will be touching on many of those. One being, that you have so much work integrated learning in your 2 internships. You have the ability to be with a small cohort, which is amazing. And I know we're going to go much deeper into that. There are just so many opportunities that biac gives you, including a scholarship, of course, which is a big differentiator. So you, over the 3 years, you receive about $51,000. So not all at once, it is over 3 years. And people often ask me, why was this program created? And the reason it was created, actually 32 years ago, would you believe, was to, and I'll paraphrase this, so it will sound very stilted, but it's to attract and develop high-performing students to create future business leaders. And with that, we're asking you to use accounting as a foundation. So why accounting? Well, a couple of fun facts first about accounting. Do you know it's the 2nd oldest profession in the world? The FBI employ more accountants than agents. Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon, guess what he was? An accountant. And an accountant invented bubblegum. I mean, doesn't that attract you to accounting? Look at the dizzy heights you can get to. But quite seriously, accounting is actually the doctor of business. It looks for symptoms that go wrong. It gives solutions to what can be fixed. And it is a degree or profession that's transferable internationally. The only place you can't practice accounting, according to the international accounting standards, is in North Korea. So that's a pretty big, pool that you can go into. And not only that, I think you become a trusted advisor within business. So when we later, I'll tell you some of the roles that accountants have been playing, especially the alumni for biac, I think you'll be quite astounded. I also say, another silly analogy, but it's the truth. I don't know if you know about a Swiss Army knife, but that has different applications right across as you open it up. And accounting is that role in business. So you can move from accounting to marketing. You can move from accounting to human resources. You can move from accounting to any other sector of business, but you can't go the other way. And research has shown that in doing accounting, you are more likely to get an executive position as a CFO or a CEO. So what we're trying to do is to assist you through biac to become that best professional self you possibly can be. So while the UTS Business School is also amazing, we just piggyback off that to add, as I said, a little bit more glitter.
Definitely glittery. That's fantastic. I mean, I think for me, when I was in high school, especially, I was very much caught up in the stereotype of, oh, accounting is people that are chained to their desks with calculators, which is very much not the case. Georgia, when you were in high school and you were tossing up which degree to do, did you have a certain idea of what accounting was, and has that changed now that you're in your second year?
Yes, definitely. So to be honest, when I first looked at the Bachelor of Accounting or heard of the Bachelor of Accounting, I thought it would be very black and white, working straight out of a textbook, working all day without leaving my desk and plugging numbers straight into a calculator. But I have to admit, this is probably my fault for searching up accounting on the internet and finding that every single photo that came up was of a calculator. So I definitely took that as my initial perception of accounting. But from the very first accounting subject that I took last year in first year, because I'm a second year now, it definitely got rid of all those preconceptions and made me realize how diversified and important accounting actually really is. Like Michelle mentioned, you can progress in the workforce with an accounting-based degree into many different factors and many different, I guess, levels, but you can't go from those levels up to an accounting profession. So I found that accounting actually provides you with an essential basis to branch out into other things business related in the future. And to my surprise, there are also many different types of accounting, which I didn't realize coming into the degree, such as financial and management accounting. As such, despite my original perceptions of accounting being very dull and boring, as many of you probably are thinking, I believe it has been and will also definitely will be the most important subject whilst I take at uni to enhance and enable future career progression. So if any of you are guilty into falling into the boring accountant trap, this is definitely not the case. And I think from a first-hand opinion, from a second year student, that being myself, I can assure you that accounting is definitely one of the most valued degrees in a very demand-driven profession.
Fantastic, excellent. And Lauren, obviously you're a few years out and you've had some really cool roles. Obviously you're at EY at the moment. You worked for Louis Vuitton for a little while as well. Obviously you're not chained to your desk with a calculator or anything like that. Do you have anything to add to what Georgia said from a alumni perspective?
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think I could last a day if it meant being chained to my desk. So you would probably all on the call be very pleased to hear, as someone, I think I've been now working in accounting, if I count my biac experience, for 6 years. And to be honest, every day has been so different from the last. I think that my accounting qualifications have really given me breadth of different experiences. I've looked at, a merger and acquisition, reporting to a board for one of the big 4 Australian banks to report on that merger, as well as looking at project management, operating models, audit, and other considerations that have all been built off my foundation of accounting knowledge. And I think what I'd like to stress is that as an accountant, you're able to translate the information of the business so that informed decisions can be made. And to Michelle's point about, you know, a lot of our CEOs and CFOs and more senior leadership come from an accounting background. It's because there's nothing like it that can actually tell you the facts, tell you a story just by looking at numbers and the way things are being processed. And that looks to a lot of past transactions, but also a lot of the future of the business. And this course is it's not only great because of that, there are so many extra add-ons that we're going to touch on too tonight. So as a base, from a career perspective, your development is next to none. It is amazing, and it will give you the skills to actually be able to go into a business and understand what they're doing. And as an EY employee, that's a lot of my work is frontline professional services. So it looks at going out to banks and going out to big corporate players and giving them advice or judging what they're doing with their numbers in their books. So it's a pretty cool thing when you can do that very early on in your career and give meaningful insight. And that's all because of biac and also my CA qualification in accounting.
Fantastic. Excellent. And Michelle, it is a very competitive course as well. We do expect a lot from our biacs. What are you looking for from our current students?
Nice people is one of the most important things. So what we try and develop is the students themselves, and we're expecting, we have high standards, and we make no apologies for that, because what we're trying to do is develop you to be your best self. How do we get the best out of you academically? How do we develop you professionally? How do we develop you as a human that will go back into society in a very trusted profession and continue to develop our communities, really? So one of the big things in biac is we ask you to give back. How can you use your skills and your opportunities to help give back to community and therefore give back to yourself? So it's not just academics, it's also really developing the human being that you are.
Excellent. And just to touch on academics briefly, Christian, how do you find the workload? I know you're involved in some student societies, so you know you've got the Bachelor of Accounting, you've got those social commitments, you know, you've got a personal life as well. How do you do that juggle?
Well, I think what the Bachelor of Accounting definitely focuses on from the start is obviously time management and workload. I think on orientation day, the first lesson I learned was on time is late. And so just those fundamental lessons that you learn straight from the start, and especially during the fast track period where you are definitely thrown into the deep end early, they really help your time management skills. I don't think if it wasn't for fast track period, I wouldn't be able to manage what I do so effectively. So I think especially with, say, your academic studies, it's important to have those social releases as well to balance it out. It may seem like a lot of work, but when you make an effort to not only just focus on academics, but like what Michelle was saying, be a good person and definitely branch out into uni life, it's definitely a good release and a lot easier to manage all the things that come your way.
Excellent, fantastic. And Mohanisha, have you got any tips or tricks for managing workload, especially when assessments and exams are piling up?
I think my best friend really through the whole of biac has been my diary. So, you know, always penciling in any events or assessments, and just making sure that I'm staying consistent with my studying. So when it does come near that assessment period, I'm not, you know, scrambling to try and learn the content. But I think another really good thing that I found joining biac is that since it's such a close-knit group, we're able to rely on each other. So say any of us ever have any issues with a topic or a subject, we're all completely down to, you know, have a conversation or try help each other learn the content. So I've found that really, really useful. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, it's not like at some high schools where people are vying to be like first in maths or first in economics. Like it's a lot more collegiate, and as you said, everyone kind of pitches in and helps as well. In terms of the actual degree, as you said, Michelle, it's not just solely accounting, it's business too, plus glitter sprinkles, or however you beautifully put it. Can you talk us through how the course is structured?
Certainly. Well, because it's an intensive course and we have to fit in two internships, we have a different structure in some ways. We start early, and I think Christian mentioned fast track. And fast track, we start in early January. We do start with a gorgeous camp, so that's all nice. But so people do subjects quickly in an intensive block mode. So we do 2 subjects for first years in 6 weeks. And then they go into the general business school within their first session. So while you do biac only subjects as you begin, which is lovely because you really get to know each other, you then go in with a general cohort and you do core subjects. So our belief at UTS is that you need to have an overall span doing all core subjects, meaning the basic business subjects that are needed. As you said, you do have to do most people can do 2 majors, and there's so many different variations which you can go through, but a major is just more subjects in a certain area. And after that, UTS allows you to have the flexibility of choosing from a myriad of subjects to try and enhance your personal self. When I talk about this, I always say, you're here to really, putting on your best and you're fabulous. So really explore the interests that you have in learning. Grasp those. Do you know, we have, pre-COVID, not at the moment, we've had people go on exchange and go and do electives, and some of them did like electives in yoga and Mandarin and just amazing stuff. And what I really emphasize is that you should always develop your learning. You should be like an expansive person. So the core subjects are there to give you a taste, because you don't know what you don't know, really. You do the accounting major, and then from there, you can choose what your interests are. And I think the next slide sort of shows that, where you can see there's a myriad of ways that you can extend your learning. And the things you can do are just quite incredible at university, because we don't have one set curriculum like school. You can explore so many different avenues. So as I said, we start with fast track, and then you can choose how you study. The only thing we ask you to do is a major in accounting for the reasons outlined.
Fantastic. Thanks, Michelle. Georgia, you're obviously in your second year, so you've decided what you wanted to do. I know sometimes, especially for Year 12 students that are tuning in, sometimes terminology like majors and submajors and electives, it can get a little bit overwhelming. So can you just talk us through what you've decided to specialise in and how you've decided to tailor your degree?
Yeah, not a problem at all. I think before I get into that, I probably want to clarify a few key definitions, because it's particularly important for the Year 12s who probably don't understand what a major, submajor or elective is. So to put it simply, a major is basically a major area of focus for university studies. And this consists of 36 units, which is around 8 subjects that are interrelated to one another. So as Michelle mentioned, within the Bachelor of Accounting, you do have to take place in a compulsory major in accounting. So following the same principle, this will consist of 8 subjects that are all accounting related and will be linked to one another. If we were to go a step down, as you can see on your screen, the 2 submajors. Basically, a submajor consists of 4 subjects that are also likewise interrelated. As such, you can take place in finance, marketing, HR, and management as submajors, and you can complete 2 of them alongside your full major. And finally, the last piece of terminology is an elective. So an elective is simply a 1 unit's worth of study, or a subject that you can take, which can be chosen from a large list of potential subjects. As Michelle mentioned, you can take place in yoga, Chinese, languages, innovation, health, mathematics, the list goes on. So biac's great in the sense that you can tailor the rest of your degree regarding submajors and electives to suit your personal interests and preferences. So going back to the question that Rachel outlined, currently being a second year student, I have started my compulsory major in accounting. So I'm currently taking around 3 accounting subjects to do with that major. But alongside that, I'm also taking place in a sub-major. So my sub-major that I decided to specialize in was finance. So I'm currently taking 2 finance subjects, which means that next semester when I go and take additional subjects, I will complete my sub-major, my finance sub-major, by taking another 2 finance subjects. So far, in terms of my sub-major in finance, I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely all the practical stuff that you can apply out in the workforce, which is something that I really, really enjoy. But also in terms of tailoring it and pairing it with the accounting major, it provides you with the practical aspect as well as they're nicely intertwined, which I really enjoy because you can apply one subject to another, which is fabulous. But I think in general, the subjects that I'm enjoying most are the accounting subjects, because I believe they'll be the most important when I come out of university, and they'll help me expand and develop myself personally, as well as like personal growth, as well as in my future career progression.
Excellent. Fantastic. And Christian, you're obviously first year, so you're not as far into the course as Georgia is, obviously, but do you have a rough idea of what you want to do?
So, not exactly. Obviously, I am just getting into my final exams are coming up soon, but I feel as though, because there's such a wide variety of subjects, I would obviously choose probably a traditional subject. I was thinking consulting, and then go into more of a non-traditional subject like a language, obviously either Chinese, which I did in high school, or Italian maybe.
Excellent. And I think, you know, kind of the point you're making as well is that you still don't know, and that's totally fine. You're not locked into a particular, you know, you've got to do finance or you've got to do management or anything like that. You can essentially try before you buy with the core subjects and see what you're interested in, which is fantastic. And Lauren, how did you choose to configure your degree? You did business law from memory, is that right?
Yes, good memory. I did. So I selected business law because I wanted to do something a little bit different to traditional business, because, you know, I obviously had the accounting major that gave me really good financial acumen and the ability to understand the financing side of business. But I wanted to really learn more about, you know, another path or another part of business, which is law. And I was able to do subjects that, you know, if I did want to pursue something, you know, further study in that particular area, I was able to. So I was happy to use that degree, the major, and also have that feed into, you know, the work that I do as an accountant, because that is a lot of the stuff I need to do is based off laws and regulations. So it was a really good and fitting complementary choice to my accounting major.
Fantastic. And just one thing I want to clarify, because I know we do get a lot of questions about this. Doing the business law major does not mean that you can become a lawyer. That's correct, isn't it?
You can use the subjects to help you get to, so you can credit the subjects you do in the business law major to then later do a law degree. So you'll cut about a year's study, but you won't get a degree in law unless you do that.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you. Now, obviously, uni life extends way beyond the classroom, and the social component is so important. There's lots of talk about the kind of biac family and the close-knit nature of the cohort. I know we've spoken a bit about this previously, but Michelle, are you able to elaborate a little bit more on what exactly that means and what it involves?
Absolutely. It's something I'm really passionate about. When I say to people that you won't know how close you'll become, I don't think people really believe me. They walk in on the first day, they see Lauren shaking her head, but it is a truth. And I think part of it is, well, you do work hard together, but you also play hard together, which is fantastic. And I really support that, because you're young. You should have fun. It's not all about, you know, getting marks, and it doesn't make you a whole person. So we do many activities, including, as I was saying prior, we go on camps together at the beginning of the year, which helps us get to know each other, consolidate our relationships with each other. We've got a biac ball that the students have organised on Saturday. Sorry, I don't know what I'm wearing yet, but I'll get there. They form study groups. They go out with each other. And that's a really important component. Like, to build your best self, you also have to make friendships. And these friendships last for a lifetime. It's quite amazing. And I'm sure Lauren can attest to that as well. So you come in and you're encouraged to get to know one another. You do so many things together, but part of those things aren't just academic. They are definitely going out, having a great time, and really learning to explore all that university has to offer.
Fantastic. And Mo and Isha, do you want to weigh in from a first year perspective? Did you know anyone from your high school coming in? Like, how long did it kind of take for you to settle into the whole kind of biac family?
Unfortunately, I didn't know anyone who came from my school or even who was doing this. So I was a bit scared on my first day, but I think camp, because it's just within the first few days of starting, that was a really, really good opportunity to make friends. And that's where probably most of our friendships were formed. But I think just the main thing, we're all sort of like-minded students. We have the same interests, the same passion. So that's like one of the biggest reasons why we were able to form friendships so quickly and so easily, and everyone's just super open to being friends and, you know, just supporting each other.
Excellent. And Lauren, you're a few years out, obviously. Do you still keep in touch with people you went through the course with? Like, how is that kept up?
Well, this is my favorite question every time I get it. So happy to answer it all the time. And hope that didn't sound like too much of a broken record for anyone that has heard me answer this question. But I honestly can't stress enough how close you become with your biac cohort. I think it sounds so, in a way, like, to me, when I heard about it when I was in year 12, I wasn't really attracted to that part of the course, because not that I didn't believe it, but I don't think I just fully appreciated or understand it. How important it is and how close the friendships I would make are. So I would say in the last month, I've seen probably at least 60% of the biacs, and I'm 3 years out of my degree. So either spoken to, seen, probably going to see some on Saturday, and likely, before that as well. So I've got to respond to a few messages from them right now. So it is a very close connection that you get with the biacs, and it's also amazing because you're going through your careers at the same time, and because everyone is so ambitious and motivated, they really, for me at least, have inspired me so much, and have really, I think, put me on the right path in terms of how to handle particular situations, and just getting different educated and, really informed perspectives on certain life situations, which is actually something that is super, super valuable in a professional setting. As a professional, you really need that trust and that feedback and that relationship with people that you kind of know are your go-tos. And it becomes, I hope it's going to become even more relevant and important as I continue to progress. But yeah, I love them very much. And I remember being told on my first day that I'd go to their weddings. None of them are yet to be married, but I think I see that happening now, which I didn't believe again at the time when I heard it.
Excellent. Thanks, Lauren. Now, obviously, we wouldn't have biac if it weren't for our sponsors. So Michelle, we'll be speaking about internships in just a couple of slides' time, but apart from that, how do our students engage with sponsors? Like, what's that relationship like?
They are so lucky. It's quite amazing. I was saying to them, the first years actually, that they have guest lectures every Thursday at the moment, and some of the top executives come to speak to them. So not even 6 months out of school, and they're meeting CFOs of companies. And some of those companies, CFOs, the people who work with them might never even met them. So it's a huge, huge professional step. every event we have sponsor organisations, and students are asked not to speak to each other. They can do that at the pub if they're over 18, but to talk to them, to get to know them, to form relationships at a high level, to use that professional network to then join them on LinkedIn, because a network is essential. And not only is the network really with, just harking back to a point, I was thinking, it's not only the network that they create as professionals with industry through all our different events, for our standalone career expos, our welcome ceremony, which we've just had last Thursday night. They also have a network with each other. That is their first professional network. And to assist them, we have a buddy program. So that buddy program is, we've got your biac, back. And with that, we also encourage them to go into sponsor organizations through our alumni and create other professional mentors. So the ability to go and reach and to have your brand so widely known at such a young age is quite exceptional.
Excellent, fantastic. And Christian, how have you found that as a first year? Because obviously it could be quite a big deal going from year 12 to all of a sudden having these really big names in industry with insane titles coming and speaking to you in such a small group setting. How have you found that?
I think it's important to remember that they are human at the end of the day. Like, all these people throughout their careers at one point were in the same shoes that we were. And once you get through that first handshake, you realize that they aren't as intimidating as they may seem. And you realize that these guys have so much experience and knowledge that you can learn off. I remember, I think we had a Stockland CFO come in, and this was my first introduction of a sponsor to our cohort. And I was obviously very nervous, but as soon as I introduced myself, we got to talking about the industry and about, personal lives as well. And you realize that at the end of the day, it's a symbiotic relationship, and you both have so much to learn from each other. And so I think just getting those daunting thoughts out of your head, it makes these networking events so much more fruitful.
Excellent. And Mohanisha, what about you? How have you found that aspect of the course so far?
I'd firstly say it's, like Christian said, it's surreal. You're meeting CFOs and CEOs, and it's just casual, but as also Michelle said, network is essential. So these relationships that you're forming within your group, but also with all of these higher ups, you'll carry through your professional career. So, if ever you're in between jobs or that sort of thing, you can always rely back on your biac network to, help get you places, but also with recommendations and all of that. But again, as Christian said, they're only human sponsors, and they absolutely love talking. So if you spike up a conversation, maybe, it could be about sport or anything, maybe ask them how their career progression has been like. They're more than happy to inform you about it and just get to know you.
Excellent. Fantastic. So obviously internships are a huge part of the course. So you do one in your first year in the second session, and you do one again in your third year in the first session. Michelle, how do internships work? Obviously some people might be a little bit daunted thinking first year out of high school, they're actually having to go to one of the sponsor organizations. And then in third year, obviously they've got a little bit more experience under the belt. How do they differ? How do they get allocated? Explain internships.
So internships, as you were saying, Rachel, first years have an internship from July through to December. That's their 6 months. Third years have an internship from January through to July. And our sponsored organizations are passionate about developing our young talent. It's part of their social responsibility, and it's something that they love to give back to. I mean, amazingly, I think sponsors have put in nearly $50 million into this program over its inception. So that's putting your money where your mouth is. And part of their commitment is to give our students the development that they need in their internships. So everyone is always quite anxious because you are 6 months out of school when you go into your first internship, but remembering that the sponsors have really accounted for this. They're there to help you work. So you're not going to go in and be expected to do the greatest strategy development. You're there to learn to work. And that's really important. How do you go from 9 to 5 or more every day? How do you deal with different people, different age groups? You know, just a diversity of people that you mightn't have got when you think you've come from high school and then you're going into the corporate world. So it's teaching you corporate skills. So what we do is, if we look right across our sponsor range, we're so lucky to have different sectors. So it might be banking, it could be Big Four. And what you do is you try and decide which sector you might be interested in based on guest lectures. And I always preface this with knowing that you don't know what you don't know. So, but every internship comes in at sort of entry level. And with that, we have discussions, and then I try and place everyone. I'll be honest, not everyone gets their first choice. But when you look at the range of sponsors we have, it's absolutely amazing. There's some of the top global companies in the world. After that, we also do our workshops. We do professional etiquette workshops. We train you on how to manage your managers. So there's lots we do around internship so that we just don't push you into the workforce and leave you alone. And with that, we also have an app that we use. So students will regularly put their feedback in, as will their supervisors. I have a dashboard, and I contact every student once a month during that time. And we discuss your progression and the progression over the 6 months. So you always know that biac is here to support you. In the third year, they will do the same, but they will have to go to a different industry sector. And that was really, I think, helps differentiate biac from, say, cadetships, because they do have the ability to go to 2 different sectors rather than working continuously in one, because there's such a breadth in accounting. And it's amazing, before you try and enter even thinking about your grad roles, sort of what that sector actually looks like in real life and whether it suits you. So it's an amazing program. And then they come out in the end with 1 year of work experience, which most university students are lucky to get 6 weeks. And that experience in itself counts towards one day their professional designation, which is quite a leg up, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Georgia, you've obviously your second year, so you've done your first internship. How was that? How did you find it jumping into the corporate world less than a year out of year 12?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and it is such a privilege, especially I was only 18 when I completed my first 6-month full-time internship. Like, imagine going out of school and being able to do that. I'm pretty sure people still in their 3rd, 4th year of their degrees, maybe even studying a double degree, may have not even stepped foot in an office before. And to gain business exposure so early on in your degree is amazing. If I was to quickly reflect on my experiences, I interned at Coca-Cola Amatil at their head office at the end of last year, as Michelle mentioned, the second session of the first year for your first internship. My role was very ad hoc, so I had no day that was ever the same. I'd walk into the office, one day there'd be monthly consolidations to prepare, one day there'd be budgets to prepare. It was extremely good in that sense, as it opened up my eyes to all the different aspects of the company, as well as there was also a lot of responsibility in terms of my role. So one of the main long-term projects that I worked on was preparing the end of year financial pack, which was then distributed to the general public. So it was amazing to work on that, because I felt like there was a degree of responsibility associated to my role. So I had to put in all my effort, as well as I was able to gain a lot of experience out of this through being exposed to their different types of annual reports, their financial statements, helping prepare notes, as well as working with people that were very high up within Coca-Cola Amatil. In terms of the financial pack, I was able to help automate the process, which was definitely one of my key successes working at Coca-Cola Amatil, and I will never take that for granted any single day. And I feel like that's definitely something I got out of it. But as Michelle briefly mentioned, I also learned that you shouldn't know everything going into your first internship. As you evolve, as you immerse yourself within the company, and as you intern with those companies. So I actually found that it's okay to make mistakes. I'm sure many people have, and I can agree. I personally made a mistake as well, but that is what enables you to grow. And on a deeper level, speaking about my experiences at Coca-Cola Amatil, I also gained a deeper understanding on how large companies such as CCA, as well as I'm sure many other second years in my year can agree to this, including how the systems and procedures at such large companies operate, as well as how to be adaptable in any situation that may arise, especially when working in such a large and diversified team. If I was to quickly touch on the expectations of an intern, as this is definitely one of the main questions that come up, as well as what people are quite interested in, all the intern companies are very aware that you are a first year. You're either going to have somewhat little experience or no experience at all. So I think in that sense, personally, I had no experience. So it was a step out of the comfort zone for me. They're very accepting though, and they'll give you as much time as you need to help you progress. So in that sense, it is amazing, especially with the biac sponsor companies. They know that you're a first year. They know that you've had experience in the sense that you've got those leadership qualities, you're hard at working and you're dedicated. So they're willing to spend as much time as you need. But I think that's probably the main benefit of the internships. And all in all, I had a great experience, and everyone in my cohort has not stopped talking about how enjoyable their internships were, especially talking to them, because coming from a fast-moving consumer goods industry, that being CCA, and hearing people's experiences within the banking industries, audit, property, it's great to hear how enjoyable each and every single one of them are within biac.
Excellent. And I think that's such an important point you've made as well. Like, on the one hand, they're very aware that you are in your first year, but then equally, they're still getting you involved in these fantastic projects. It's not like some people's opinion of an internship where they think, oh, all I'll be doing is making coffees and photocopying. You got exposed to some really fantastic projects that is just fantastic on your resume as well. Yeah. Lauren, how did you find the process? You obviously completed the degree, so you did 2 internships. Who did you intern for, and what was it like graduating with that 1 year of full-time work experience?
Yes, so I interned at Ernst & Young, or EY, in my first year, and then who I'm currently with now. And then in my third year, I interned with Westpac. So basically my role was quite varied, and both roles were very different. But essentially, in a nutshell, it was about reviewing in an audit perspective. So looking at finance, numbers, accounting, and then, giving feedback to the client on whether they've done it correctly. In a nutshell, audit is all about verifying the integrity of financial statements, which then informs markets. So you do have a very important role as an auditor to make sure that the financials are correct and accurate. And, doing this, obviously, I was a first year uni student, so I was absolutely guided and mentored correctly, and given the opportunity to ask as many questions as I needed, and to be really well supervised so that I could develop and grow, but also add value to my team. And yeah, it'd be a big highlight for me and a big call out to say that you don't go in and not add any value. You absolutely have your own tasks and set assignments, but they are given to you in a very measured way. So what I mean by that is that they're given to you in a way that is very much digestible and will put you in good stead for future experiences and opportunities. So you learn basic things like how to just manage and present and maintain yourself, which is a really critical skill in the workplace. And it gives you the opportunity to really polish as a professional before you have to commit to a grad role. So you get to actually try things, and you get to to test it, and also to see people walking the floors and how they present themselves. And I mean, personally, it was very inspiring for me because I got to work with some amazing business leaders, and you know, to this day are still very much either a mentor or people I look up to. So I remember, I think only a few weeks ago, I had a coffee with one of the EY partners that came out to me on my first year guest lecture. So, and he's a very strong advocate for the program. So it's just been great to maintain those connections and to learn things that I just only really learned from doing and not from learning and studying. I think that there is a lot to be said to your work experience and to be behind a computer and behind a client, or if you're, you know, in back front office, whatever. But yeah, to feel kind of part of a team and to do things instead of just learning about, you know, your debit and your credit in the traditional learning university sense. And then just lastly on expectations about internships, yeah, I can't agree more. The expectation for me was just to have a good attitude, and that was what I had anyway, and I expected that of myself, and that's what you should absolutely expect of yourself too. You just go in with an open mind and the ability to ask the right questions and to think things through. And at the end of the day, you're there to enjoy your time as well, and your team are also there to enjoy having you in the team. So there's so many different opportunities for networking. That's whether it be through team events or through actual like work, but yeah, so many highlights came out of it. I remember I had an icebergs lunch, which was really cool. My firm also, during my first year, hired out all of my facades, and so we had a big event there where we got to go with all that. We had dinner and then, you know, see all the wax figures in the museum. So you just do so much, and it's things that I still think is quite amazing. Looking back on that experience, and then how it's also put me and prepared me for my grad role.
Excellent. Thanks, Lauren. And that is a perfect segue into careers. So you've shared so much really, really valuable knowledge about your career journey since graduating and the kind of work you do. Michelle, do you want to touch on a little bit more about what some of the actual roles are that students will graduate with? Because obviously, as you were saying before, they're not just going to come out with accountants stamped on their head. So would you be able to touch on a couple of the other roles and career paths that they can expect?
Absolutely. Well, do you know, I say the world is your oyster. You have this amazing international degree. You will start at first, sort of almost in an apprenticeship within your grad role, but what you can do from there is amazing. So what I did quickly this afternoon was I went on to I searched Bachelor of Accounting in LinkedIn. And I thought I'd just give you a little list. Well, actually, it's actually a huge list, so I won't read it all out, but of where people are. So we have the head of ads for Google, California, global head of logistics in oil for Macquarie Group. We have the senior partner for Boston Consulting, London, senior partner and managing director of Boston Consulting, Chicago. We have the founder of Chebo's Burgers, which was just a little while ago. He has 1 million followers, by the way. Try his burgers. Amazing. We have the CEO of Mercedes-Benz Saudi Arabia, the CFO of Mirvac, the CFO of West Tigers Rugby League, the head of finance for Westpac, director of strategic planning at the Aboriginal Housing Office, the finance director for The Iconic, the CEO of JP Ware, the director of HSBC, the CFO of AMP, the CFO of SMA, the CFO of GPT, directors of PwC, EY, and Deloitte, and the list goes on. So, and that is really, truly, that's just a few. You can see us just to prove it.
You came prepared. I think
yeah,
the
so,
other thing,
you know what I mean? And that's amazing. So when you look into, everyone says they still use their accounting skills every day. And it's that got them actually pushed into these upper roles. So as a grad, you will be starting in an accounting role, but where you take that role is totally up to you.
and I think even looking at things like where it will take you, like literally where it will take you, some of those roles, they're all over. It really, you know, I've heard yourself and other accounting academics say that accounting is the language of business. And
totally.
That's, you know,
Actually,
seeing where our alumni are is a testament to that.
A third of our alumni are overseas, which is quite a large number. And what we've also done to help people in their careers is I've established chapters across the world. So we have a chapter in New York, a biac chapter in London, biac chapter in the South Pacific, biac chapter actually in California, because so many are in Silicon Valley, having amazing startups. And that means that if you do go to any of these countries, there are some in Europe as well, beside London, then you already have a network of people that are biacs who are willing to help you with your careers overseas.
Excellent. Fantastic. Now, obviously, we've heard all about how fantastic the course is, all of the graduate opportunities, but how exactly do you get in? How do you apply? And that's something that is really dominating in the Q&A at the moment, that we'll touch on those specifics in a minute. But Michelle, can you just outline what do students actually need to do if they're interested in the course?
Apply. And I know that sounds silly, but I always say an opportunity comes, and I'm sure Christian can tell you an amazing story about how he just applied. I didn't think he was going to get in. So Christian, I hope you don't mind me telling you a story, but he was actually supposed to be playing handball, and it was raining, and he went into the biac presentation, and from there applied, and now he's one of our first-year student leaders. So take the opportunity. The first thing you need to do is fill out an online application form, which is open at the moment and closes on the 21st of May. There is a second application that you can, if you're too busy now, if you're too stressed with the HSC, we totally understand. You can also apply, and that closes on the 15th of October. So what we're looking for in that online application, we're not trying to trick you. We're not trying to give you, dot point 2.5 of the syllabus. What we're saying is write down who you are. What are the things you've done? Show me your passion for business, your interest in accounting. Let me know more about you. What are some of the things that you've done outside of school? What are some of the accomplishments you have in school? Are you able to communicate well? Are you a people person? Because I think one of the major things we need as professionals is the ability to communicate well. So the whole process looks at all of this and looks at you. What have you done? What are your leadership skills? What's your extracurricular? What are some of the accomplishments that you're really proud of? Write them all down and then tell me about your interest in accounting. From there, we cull those applications and we offer you, hopefully, an interview. So we do more than interview. And once again, it's not there to be terrible. We do a group assessment, and that's just looking at how you work with people. How do you problem solve? What are some of the innovative solutions that you could create in a set amount of time? And then the second one is you actually have an interview with 2 other people, and they will just ask you questions about how you get in. From there, we offer conditional offers, which means that it'll be based then on ATAR. So ATAR isn't the most important thing. ATAR just comes right at the end to see who might get in. The most important thing for us is that interview and also that group assessment. So as I said, give yourself that opportunity. Interviews will be in November. So interviews run from, I'm just looking here to make sure, from the 8th to the 12th of November. So you will book a time in, and then you will come in for your session. We have beautiful biacs to support you. We have amazing food. We try and make it the most relaxed atmosphere we possibly can, so we can really see you're fabulous. But what I say is, apply. Give yourself an opportunity, because no doesn't hurt. And I think I've said it for years, but it's so true. It's like wanting to win lotto and they're not getting a ticket. So put that application in, and we really look forward to reading them.
Excellent. Thanks, Michelle. Now, one of the top questions that's come in has been around subjects. So do we have any prerequisites? Do students need to have done economics or business, or is there a particular level of maths they need to do?
No. All questions to know. Actually, I found this in the archives of my drawer. People have mentioned it. It's an old calculator. If you can use this calculator and push the buttons, That's all the math you need for accounting. It's about problem solving. It's about how your mind works. Yeah, it's about analysis and critical analysis. So no, we don't have any subjects that you need to do, but some of them might inform you. Maybe you might be doing business studies or economics, and that might inform you that you might have an interest in this area. But other than that, we have absolutely no subject criteria.
Excellent, fantastic. Now, I'm just conscious that we're rapidly approaching 7 p.m. So I want to leave some time for questions because we've had some great ones come through. But Mo and Nisha, briefly, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you found the application process and the interview and everything like that?
Yeah, sure. I found the actual application was quite straightforward. You know, you just fill in your extracurriculars and a little bit about accounting. But as Michelle said, the actual interview itself, with the group interview and the singular interviews, well, what I found was that there was really quite a relaxed environment. You know, there wasn't too much pressure. Really, I feel like what they want to see is your personality and how you are yourself. So I thought a really big thing was, you know, I didn't come in trying to pretend like I was someone or, you know, act like someone I wasn't. I came in being my true self and just being completely honest and all of that.
Excellent, fantastic. And it's really good advice as well. We're looking for your authentic self when we're looking at the applications. Another question that's come in around the application process, Michelle, is someone who is concerned that work experience is an important requirement. This particular student has chosen to prioritise sport and academics. Are they disadvantaged if they don't have that work experience component?
Not at all, not at all. So as we said, we look at the whole year. It's quite obvious that if you have been so busy in other things that you mightn't have the opportunity to have any other sort of work experience itself. You might even have had a short stint through school. But so no, the answer is no. You don't have to have work experience to be eligible.
Excellent, fantastic. Now, obviously, ATAR is drilled into you when you're in year 12, that ATAR is, you know, really, really important. But I know you've touched on this a little bit, but as there's no set ATAR in the Bachelor of Accounting, you know, is it based off report results as well? You know, is there a different ATAR requirement for each applicant? How does ATAR factor in?
So what happens is we might give a certain amount of conditional offers, and just to clarify conditional offers. So if you get oh my gosh, I love them in your interview, if you get, oh my gosh, I love them in your group, you get an A for each section. Those people who get AAs are given a conditional offer. So how many offers can we give? As many sponsor spots as we have. So we might give 40 conditional offers, and then we'll take the top 8 out. So, but yeah, so that's where ATAR comes in. It's the last objective measure, but that there's no range to it because it changes every year. So just do your best.
Absolutely. And you've also kind of preempted the next question, which was how many students are chosen. They've also asked how many students apply, and honestly, it's huge. It's a highly competitive course. And as you said, the number of places are dictated by the number of sponsor organisations. So that was 27 this year, I believe?
It was 27 this year, correct.
Fantastic, excellent. We've also had quite a few questions come in about combined degrees. So again, really short answer. Can you combine the Bachelor of Accounting with anything?
Unfortunately, because of internships, etc., no, we can't. So that's a no.
Excellent. And if any of the students tuning in tonight do have their heart set on a combined degree, as Michelle said, Bachelor of Accounting in terms of course content, it's very, very similar to the Bachelor of Business with a major in accounting. So if that's something you want to do, you can do that. Or if you wanted to do economics or management, they've also got combined degree options available as well. We've got another question that's come in about internships. So just revisiting that a little bit. How does it compare in terms of workload compared to students who might just be in a regular Bachelor of Business and they do an internship as well? This person's heard of some business students doing internships in, top banks, working something from like 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Is this the kind of workload that we expect our biacs in the internships?
No, it is not. And I think that's why it's quite lucky that we do have biac. So, I mean, if something happened and, they were asked to work ridiculous hours, then I would step in. Yeah. And I think also, as we were saying, and I think everyone touched on, it's usually your first internship, and people know that. So I think there's this horrible perception. I was saying to my first years the other day that the corporate world is like Suits. You're actually not allowed to behave that way. So no, it's not. But I'll preface that by saying that biac is an intense course, and because they do 2 full-time internships and their subjects, there is more work than, say, just going and doing a quick 6-week internship in your summer holidays. But because you have each other, it's not onerous and definitely achievable.
Absolutely. And something you touched on as well jumps into the next question. So saying that, you regularly touch in with our biac students when they're interning, or even when they're studying, just normally.
Yes.
So this question is about the depth of the mentoring process at UTS. Michelle, could you touch on this briefly, and then Christian, I might get you to talk to your experience with mentoring as well.
Well, I try and contact students regularly, so I think that's very lucky in that they're not set adrift. So I try and keep a finger on the pulse to make sure that everyone's okay. We're very, very committed to people's mental health. So in a high achieving program, I think it's very important to touch base continuously. We also provide experiences, as we're saying, we've got your biac, where first years and second years do second years mentor the first years and help them along as well. Because there's sometimes you might want to talk to another student and not to me. We have the student elected leaders who also facilitate regular conversations with myself, Karen, and also the cohort. And then within mentoring, we really encourage you to reach out to the alumni if you want more professional mentoring, so that you can really start to really understand yourself and gain that kind of growth. I hope that answers the question.
I think so. Christian, do you want to add anything about what it's been like from a student perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously with such a high workload sometimes, and getting a bit nervous maybe going to internships, you won't always feel the best. I know I definitely haven't always felt the best at times, but having not only Michelle and Karen always there with support, I say them every week. They have a one-on-one meeting with you almost every month, and also having second years and third years and even alumni who've gone through all those processes and have definitely had maybe the same thought process at times that you have is definitely advantageous, and it definitely gives you a sense of comfort that you wouldn't have with a lot of other degrees where you're sitting in uni by yourself, not having that support network that you have with you. And if you even want professional mentoring, I work with, I'm in UTS startups building right now. I've been working all day on a startup. I definitely have the alumni and students to help me and to really connect with at almost any time. So yeah, it's definitely advantageous.
Excellent, fantastic. So I am conscious that we've gone over time. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your experiences. We could keep going for another 2 hours if we could. But just really briefly before we wrap up, you've all given us some fantastic advice that I'm sure everyone attending will take on board. But if there was just one tip that you would like to pass on to students considering applying, what would that be? And Lauren, we might start with you.
Sure. I would say that be conscious that your learning journey is probably never going to end, and have that mindset when you come into uni, regardless of whether you do biac or not biac. So yeah, if you do get the opportunity to come in and to do this course, then you will constantly be learning and have that energy and that drive to learn it. And I think you'll see amazing things happen.
Fantastic. And Georgia?
Yeah, I think this really only requires one sentence, and that is that every opportunity you don't take is a missed opportunity. So why not apply? That's kind of like my moral that went through the whole of high school, year 12, through applying to biac, and I'm sure many of you will also apply to many other things, but also now, any opportunity you don't take is something that you can't get back. So you may as well apply and go through the process, get experience from the process, and learn about yourself through the process similarly, than not take it at all. So yeah.
Fantastic. And Christian?
I'd just say take every opportunity that comes your way. Simple as that.
Excellent. And Moanisha, I know it's always hard going last after everyone's given their tips, but what would your advice be?
I think, as I kind of said before, just be yourself. If you're yourself and you're not, putting something on, then you're open to growth and everything like that. Just be yourself.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone so much for attending, and to our students and Lauren as well. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experiences. It's so valuable hearing from you guys as well, and how you found the course. For everyone tuning in, again, thank you for attending. We'll be getting in touch over the next couple of days. We'll be sending you links to apply, additional resources as well that'll help you in making your decision. If you do have additional questions, you can send us an email in the meantime to coop.ed@uts.edu.au, and that will go through to Karen, who, thank you Karen so much for, in a frenzy, has been managing all the questions in the back end. We've had over 30 come through. And everyone as well, we've got our open day on the last Saturday of August, which is fantastic. That will be a face-to-face open day. More details of that will be available online in the coming months, but that's a fantastic opportunity to come on site. We'll have Bachelor of Accounting representatives. We'll have academics as well who can talk you through our other programs, the Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Management, Bachelor of Economics, as well as other faculties if you are interested in combined degrees. So that's a fantastic opportunity as well. To those of you who are looking to apply for May round, again, that's the 21st of May that you need to get your applications in. All the very best of luck. And again, please, any questions you have, don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you so much and have a lovely night.
Thanks for hosting, Rachel. Have a nice night, everyone.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye.
And good luck with your HSC, everyone.
Bye.